Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a reading for Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, doesn't matter, or if you have very strong Virgo placements. Otherwise, there may be a message in here for you. So Virgo, I tried to do your message on Friday, but it didn't feel quite right yet. I felt like there was more information that needed to come in. And that whatever you were working through energetically required space and time. So it wasn't the right timing was what was coming through for that message. Like, why I didn't post it. So today feels much better. But the energy that's coming through is still quite similar. So it is something that I feel like you've been working through perhaps the last couple of days. So there was an energy, like I was getting very strongly like red and blue coming through for you, which were sort of representing at the time root chakra and throat chakra. And what was coming through with that, it was like an expression of safety and belonging. How you express safety is kind of how it's coming through, or stability. I was also getting the phrase safe haven as well. So perhaps you are a safe haven for someone, or perhaps you're finding a safe haven with another person or environment or whatever. It's like, it's emphasizing sort of like perhaps like a very physical expression of what safety and belonging means to you. So that was sort of the energy that was coming through. But today I was getting sort of this message of, in terms of those two energies, like the red and the blue, of anger and sadness, which is really interesting because those are two sides of the same coin, in my opinion, especially in terms of like if there's been loss or heartbreak or hurt or anything like that. Usually anger is sort of like the first, well, it depends on the person, I guess. But anger and sadness are two sides of the same coin in terms of like heartbreak, right? Like if you've been hurt by something, usually there's a response of anger, being angry, perhaps at the other person or the situation or the environment or whatever that caused pain, being angry about the hurt that happened. And then as the anger fades, it sort of turns into sadness. So there could be that kind of energy that you're working through, just being aware of how those two are connected. That usually, especially anger, especially if it's anger that has lasted for a very long time as well, it's an expression of sadness in a way, or grief. So that was sort of the message that was coming through. And I was also getting this energy of soul retrieval for you. So again, it feels kind of like you're healing something very significant for you, Virgo. It's coming through with this and like this metaphor with the soul retrieval of okay, so just bear with me for a minute, because I've been knitting again because of the weather. It's turning cooler here. So an example of like soul retrieval. So for example, let's say in a relationship, it could be any kind of relationship, like romantic or otherwise. It feels like for you, Virgo, it feels very much like family related. It could be parent-child dynamics. It could be like siblings or other sort of like peer kind of energies, that kind of thing. But within family dynamics is kind of how it's coming through, but just take it how it resonates. The example that was coming through as a metaphor is, for example, let's say in a relationship, you gave a piece of yourself, like a piece of your soul in a relationship. And the metaphor that's coming through with this is like a hand knit sweater, right? Like something that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of conscious effort, is an expression of creativity and love and all of that. So let's say in this relationship, you gave another person a hand knit sweater, and there are sort of different, and so that hand knit sweater is representing a piece of yourself, a piece of your soul. And there are like, it's coming through with like a range of different experiences of like, let's say there's, you try and give somebody a piece of your soul and there's rejection. So that being sort of like, a rejection energy, they say no thank you and they give the sweater back. That I feel like is actually the, well, depending on the person again, but that's actually like the best case scenario in my opinion, because you still have that hand knit sweater that's intact, right? Perhaps there's a little bit of discomfort around that because now it's like, oh, I made this for that person. What do I do with it now? Kind of energy. But what I'm getting for you is actually a bit more intense than this. It feels more like you gave somebody a sweater, piece of yourself, and let's say you were with this person for a long time, or if this is like a family dynamic, right? It could just be like, it could be even longer. Like it could have been like your whole life or whatever. Well, there could be, again, a whole range of experiences coming through. Like the sweater was perhaps worn, right? Cherished and loved by that person, right? That would be the best case scenario. That person accepts your gift. They cherish it. They love it. They take care of it. Other examples could be like they perhaps take it, they accept it, but then it just sort of gets put in the back of a closet and never worn, never interacted with, kind of like just forgotten, neglected. That's another scenario. It could also be that the sweater gets worn, but it's like insulted, abused, mistreated, right? All of that kind of energy as well. And then there's one scenario that I feel like was really strongly coming through for you, unfortunately, which is kind of like the hand knit sweater actually gets destroyed. Like it gets like cut up and like all the yarn is destroyed and all of that. And so it's kind of coming through as being like a soul retrieval as part of the healing process is when, like, say there's like an ending of some sort and then the hand knit sweater is returned to you. But the piece of your soul is returned to you, but the way in which it's returned to you depends on how badly that relationship ended. And so it's kind of coming through with like, depending on the dynamics of that relationship, your soul is either in tons of pieces or in an intact piece, but there's like perhaps hurt or memory associated with that. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, so I don't know which aspect of I don't know what range of experiences this is resonating for you with. That'll depend on you, of course, and you'll know which one sort of resonates with you. And I feel like part of this soul retrieval process that's actually quite painful. Let's say like a simple example. The hand knit sweater is attached, it's intact, it's whole, or there's maybe like a couple of tears. Now comes the energy of like deciding what to do with it. Because it's like, let's say in a romantic relationship, your ex returns the sweater and it still smells like your ex, which is kind of an issue, maybe. And then, so you put it in the laundry, you get rid of the smell, and then comes sort of like this energy of like, okay, well, is this something that I want to keep? Is this something that I'm going to incorporate back into my wardrobe, keep it for myself maybe? Or is there like something about like donating it or getting rid of it? Or in the case of a hand knit sweater, unraveling the sweater and making it into something new. So I feel like that you're in that process here of like, you've gotten a piece of your soul back, the soul retrieval. You've received part of your soul back, is kind of how it's coming through. Perhaps you're in the process of like working through the emotions of like anger and sadness that are associated with that aspect of yourself. And now deciding, okay, what do I do with this now? What do I do with this now? How am I going to incorporate that sweater into my wardrobe? Or am I going to unravel it and make something new with the yarn? For example, that's how it's coming through for you, Virgo. I hope that makes sense. And I feel like the easiest way to determine that, to work through that process, is to try it on, to see if it, first of all, fits you, metaphorically, this piece of your soul, if it fits you, if it's something that you would wear, you know, keeping with the metaphor, or if it's something that like doesn't suit you anymore, or like you've grown out of it, perhaps it's too small, or like doesn't fit well, or perhaps it's something that like somebody else can benefit from in terms of like recycling or interesting. Because I'm getting kind of like it's especially, it doesn't feel like a romantic relationship for you. It feels more like family dynamics. Like say this is a sweater that you made when you were a child for your parent. And so when it gets returned to you, perhaps it's a reflection of what you as a child felt, right? So you could be healing inner child energy, like what you as a child felt for your parent at the time or something like that. There could maybe some of you have a child, and there may be sort of like insights coming through that relationship as well. But it doesn't have to be that for everyone. It could also be, just take it how it resonates. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, Virgo. We're using a new deck today. Land, flower, moon. Well, to me, flower is representative of Virgo. In terms of the earth, the most earthy representation of Virgo is flower, I think. Compared to Taurus and Capricorn, which are a bit more hard, I would say. Virgo is the more, for lack of a better word, delicate of the earth signs. Interesting. Well, it looks like you're finding peace about something. Perhaps a peace about yourself, or perhaps finding peace and acceptance of a delicate aspect of yourself. The word delicate is not quite right, but okay, yeah, here, we're going to read this description. So, a lot of people confuse vulnerability with weakness, which means a lot of people get it really wrong because nothing could be further from the truth. An open heart doesn't fear pain, and an open heart doesn't need to wear armor or hide to protect itself. Allow yourself to delve deep into your vulnerability and to share it with others. Be with the pain that lives inside of you and allow it to express and to release. Cry and let the tears cleanse your spirit, knowing that the process is renewing your essence and purifying your soul. Allow others into your pain and into your emotions while welcoming theirs into your own heart. Open your heart to your tribe so that they can see the fullness of you. Be gentle with yourself, dear one, for this is a tender territory you are choosing to tread. Hold your vulnerability and others' vulnerability with grace and with respect. It takes great courage to share your feelings with others. Yeah, Virgo, I feel like you're opening your heart, it feels like, to somebody or multiple people. It doesn't have to be with one. It feels like you're sharing your emotions. Perhaps you have Earth as a moon sign. Like your moon sign is an Earth, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Doesn't have to be though. But it is coming through with a more feminine energy here of perhaps like accepting your emotions and what you feel, especially feelings that perhaps make you feel vulnerable. So it could be like pain, sadness, anger, shame, regret. Yeah, it feels a lot like those kinds of energies where it's like there's a vulnerability, a feeling of vulnerability, I should say, of your emotional space. I feel like you are accepting this though. It feels very much like an acceptance of how you feel and respecting that energy within yourself, which also allows you to accept and respect that emotional vulnerability with others as well. It's feeling very much like an acceptance energy, and opening to, like, perhaps to others. I feel very strongly like somebody is witnessing this vulnerability. I'm putting that in quotations. This vulnerability that you're, because it's kind of like if you can see it within yourself, then others can also see it as well. But it feels very positive and accepting and loving. There is a lot of healing that's coming through this seeing and acceptance. And peace. It feels very much like peace. There's that energy again with like the safe haven, which is coming through for you. So it could be that, like, because you're feeling sort of safe within your own emotions, others are also feeling safe to like share their emotions with you, that kind of thing. It's coming through as like I'm getting like a sharing circle. It's kind of cheesy, but it feels like that. It's like feeling like a sharing circle. It's very healing though. There was something else that wanted to come to. Okay, yeah. The Mars in Cancer. We're in Mars in Cancer right now. I feel like that has an aspect to it, because I feel like for you, Virgo, because Virgo tends to rule over like health and wellness, right? So it could be in terms of your emotional space, like your emotional energy, emotional well-being and health, but perhaps also has something to do with the physical body as well. You could be healing that connection, like emotional well-being and physical well-being. Okay. This new deck is a little bit too big for my hands, but okay, this one. Okay. The Land, Animal, Sun. Yeah, I feel like it's very much having to do with like your physical body or your physical environment, right? It doesn't have to necessarily just be limited to your body, but it could be like all the things that make up sort of like the 10 of Pentacles to you. Like your physical manifestation is going through sort of like a healing I feel like there's also this energy with the Mars and Cancer of being like very protective of, perhaps protective of your emotions, or protective of the people that you care about, or your home. Being protective of your home could also be part of it. Okay, so this one says Land, Animal, Sun. I love this card so much. It's one thing to love animals and to scratch them behind their ears and to tell a chihuahua in someone's purse that you like its sweater vest. It is quite another thing to truly commune with animals. When was the last time you ran alongside a horse, feeling the joy and freedom it feels sprinting across the land? When was the last time you rolled around with a dog, not just looming over it while patting it on its head, but humbled yourself by bringing yourself to its level and playing with it the way that dogs actually like to play? When was the last time you sang along with the birds and harmonized with their melodies? The wisdom of the animals are profound, and their messages run deep. Avail yourself to the medicine they carry through communion. Allow the animals to teach you through their ways and through their language. They are our guides here. Walk well with them. Yeah. It's an energy of like play for this one. In terms of sort of your more animal nature is how it's coming through. Perhaps you are feeling very connected to animals in general at the moment. Okay, you're getting all the land cards. So you have Land, Mountain, and Star. That's interesting. Land, Mountain, Star. Okay. The compilation of the energies that have carried you through the initiations you have already endured, the lessons you've learned, and the obstacles you've overcome form a powerful and mighty toolkit that will support you through future challenges. When you take inventory of all the things you've made it through, you will realize that the courage, the strength, and the resourcefulness that supported you through those difficult times are still with you now. These tools you've gathered from the difficulties of the past serve as armor that protects you and as tools that will allow you to navigate the unknown that lies before you now. When you choose, remember to call forth the tools and the gifts that carried you through those hardships and those experiences as you face the challenges that are heading your way, instead of reacting in fear and confusion. Then you will triumph over yet another soul initiation like the lit leader that you are. Okay. There's this interesting energy here, Virgo, because it's like I feel like you're in this place which is like very soft. It feels like very soft, very open, very peaceful and accepting and like vulnerable, so to speak, open, allowing, receiving. And then on this side of you, this is sort of that Mars energy, which is coming through as like protection, armor. So it's kind of like there is something that I feel like you are protecting yourself from, whatever that is for you. And it's like no one gets through this fortress, or like, not no one. You are connecting with energies that are like you. Like it feels like you, like it kind of is coming through as like home and loved ones, whatever scope of that is for you, right? There are people that you're connected to, or whatever, people, pets, relationships to things and all that you're very open to, it feels like, that you're allowing into your space. And there are some that are just not getting through, is how it's coming through. So it's this like really interesting energy of like being very soft and open with the ones that you love, and then being just like this impenetrable fortress to any energies that are not a match to that, is how it's coming through. Yeah, it's coming through with a lot of like Mars energy. But maybe your Mars sign is also in earth. There's so much earth. You have you have land only so far. Interesting. I feel like this is I feel like this is what is this might actually be part of the soul fragment that has been returned to you. The soul retrieval energy. It's this energy of protectiveness. And that feels like not... It's like... So it is kind of coming through with your armor, but it doesn't feel like... Okay, I'm gonna get more cards on that to get more information on that, but it feels kind of like there's an aspect of yourself that has been returned to you. It feels like this. But maybe that aspect of yourself is one that is sort of going through a shift in terms of like, is this still me? Is this still part of me? Is this still something that I need to work through? Is it something that's going to be like, because this energy is very, very different from this. And so it kind of feels like, for lack of a better metaphor, it doesn't fit your wardrobe anymore, right? It's like a different style than what you have been wearing is kind of how it's coming through. So is it something that you keep for like a rainy day when you need it? Or is it something that you're going to reshape into something that looks more like this, which I feel like is the energy that you're in right now? That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna pull one more card from this deck and then we'll switch decks. I'm getting sort of like you're doing shadow work, but in a way you've never done it before, Virgo. You're doing shadow work, but in a way that you have never done it before. And I feel like it feels good. It feels good to do it like this. To like explore this aspect of yourself in a new way is how it's coming through. Okay, that's too many cards. I just want one. Water, waterfall, and sun. So there's the water to balance it out, right? Interesting. And then at the bottom of the deck you have sky, storm, and earth. Okay, give me a minute. This deck is not the guidebook is not organized in a way that makes sense to me, so it takes me a little bit to find the cards. Okay. So this one says water, waterfall, sun. Our whole planet is organized by cycles. The phases of the moon affect the ocean's tides. The interplay of the Earth's movement around the sun affects the seasons and the weather. Women themselves are cyclical beings who bleed along with the moon phases. Human beings navigate cycles of expansion and contraction, growth and stagnation, and fortune and tragedy. No one is immune to life's ups and downs. All we can do is ride the waves and trust the journey while remembering that everything changes. You, my dear, are entering a cycle of greatness. The hardships and difficulties you have endured are behind you and have been replaced with the blessings of grace and the rewards of spirit. Your journey has been long and arduous, and your soul has been waiting for this turn of fortune, so bask in the magnificence coming your way. Allow yourself to feel all the joy and all the excitement that's pouring into you now. Yeah, it's Virgo. I feel like there's like a lot of healing that has happened for you. And if you're not feeling that way yet, it's on its way, is how it's coming through. But it's just like, this card is so interesting because it is the one that feels like it doesn't belong in this area, which is, okay, so it's kind of like, say you went through, I'm just going to say a breakup, just metaphorically, to simplify it. Say you went through a breakup, right? There's a period of time after the breakup where it's kind of like you're focused on yourself, you're healing yourself, and it's all of this really lovely, open energy. Because it's kind of like, this is the point where you have healed that breakup energy, the heartbreak, whatever it is. You've healed that. That's how it's coming through. But then this sort of, because you've healed that part of yourself, it's now time for this part of yourself to come back to you, which is the part of yourself that you, quote unquote, lost in the heartbreak, right? So this is a part of yourself, but it still carries like hurt or pain or discomfort about it, because this card looks very like harsh in comparison to the other cards. So it's kind of like there's an aspect of yourself, the soul fragment that has been returned to you, that when it first arrives to you, you may not even recognize it, even though it is an aspect of yourself, because it still carries the pain, the hurt, the hardship, the heartbreak that you have just healed from. So it's kind of like, even though it's a part of yourself, it doesn't feel familiar to you. So it may actually be causing sort of like your energy feels split or divided, because this aspect has yet to be integrated back into your quote unquote wardrobe. Like it's still that like piece that doesn't quite belong yet within yourself. And I feel like there is also like tough emotion that is associated with the sweater as a metaphor. Like it's there are tough energies that are associated with it, but the good news is, because you're in this sort of like very open and receptive emotional space, even these emotions, the hardship, the sadness, the anger, the guilt, the shame, all of those are also accepted in this space, is how it's coming through. Okay, I'm gonna read the bottom of the deck energy, because it's really interesting, the imagery of it. Storm, sky, storm, and earth. There is chaos swirling around you as well as among the collective. Don't let yourself get sucked in. As a leader of legacy, it is important for you to ground your energy and your attention into the awareness of the observer. Yes, we live in a constructed reality, but that doesn't mean that you have to surrender your power to this collective nonsense. Detach. Root yourself in the awareness of the witness. This will give you the necessary perspective that will allow you to see the deeper meaning that lies beyond the conflicts of this world, while helping you to see what actions you can take to lift the collective and to influence positive change. Okay. Okay, this storm energy. This storm energy, I feel like, is talking about circumstances outside of you. Outside of you. So it kind of feels like there's a collective energy that's going through change at the moment that is impacting you as well, of course, Virgo, because you're part of the collective. It could be like a collective healing moment. But that, okay, so it's kind of, okay, that's why. In the Alchemy Wild Unknown deck, there's a card called Sulfur, which is kind of coming through with this energy, which sulfur is sort of like, it's a healing energy, but that there's a lot of discomfort in the healing, right? So it kind of comes through as being like something that's gross or unpleasant. Like if you think of sulfur, it smells really bad, like that kind of energy. Interesting. Anyways, so it's kind of okay. There's a lot of energy of smell for you, Virgo, and because it's interesting because my nose has been clogged for the last like month or two from allergies, but smell is one of the five senses that has a direct link to your memory centers in your brain. So smell is directly connected to memory. It's one of the five senses that is like, I don't want to say like that goes through like the least amount of processing in your brain, if that makes sense. Like if you think about your vision goes through like different layers of processing before you're even aware of seeing something. Like there's a blind spot that's corrected for, there's like a whole bunch of like visual cues that are corrected for. All of this complex information is sort of processed in terms of vision. For smell, it's much, much simpler. It goes straight to the brain. That's how it's going through, and is especially tied to memory. So I don't know if there's something in terms of like your nose or your smell that's like going through some sort of change or shift that has to also do with memory, it feels like, or your third eye is also kind of how it's coming through. And I feel like there's this, which feels kind of like, well, now it's coming through with blind spot, like a blind spot in your memory, which is interesting. A blind spot in your memory that's being filled in. Okay. And I feel like it somehow has a collective, there's a collective influence with that. It's also interesting, I'm being drawn to these. So this one underneath that is sky, wind, and star, but it's 47, 56, which both add to 11. And then you also, in your spread, you have 38, which adds to 11. Something about 11 years ago, maybe? Interesting, Virgo. There's something about like your personal history or your personal memory in which there was a blind spot is how it's coming through. Like it could be something like a repressed memory or something that you don't like to think about or something that's just uncomfortable in that way. But that is now being returned to you, right? Because you're in this state of healing yourself is how it's coming through. And this part is, I feel like, a very significant part of you that needs healing. You may actually even reject this aspect of yourself when you first see it is how it's coming through. So pay attention to your dreams, because it may be that you're having dreams that somehow have to relate to this energy, but that it doesn't feel like you. It doesn't feel like you when you're in it. Like, it doesn't feel like your dreams, or doesn't feel like it has anything to do with you. Or it may actually be something that you reject first off. Like, that has nothing to do with me. That's not me. That's not something that I want anymore. Like, it's kind of coming through like that. This energy feels like it's so uncomfortable that there's almost like a rejection. Like, it's like immediately your memory goes to no. Be open to it, though, is what's coming through. Be open to it, because I feel like there is something for you to reclaim about this energy, right? So if we're talking about, this is the hand knit sweater that has been returned to you, but it's almost like interesting. I just had like a weird like throat thing. It feels kind of like when the hand knit sweater is returned to you, it's in pieces, right? So it's kind of like or it's been damaged or destroyed in some way. It's coming through with memory for some reason. Like it's like a blind spot in your memory. Maybe you forgot something, or your memories about the past are not clear for whatever reason. Okay. Because memory is also influenced by emotions, right? So if you, for example, like if you were in like a traumatic situation in the past, your memories can actually feel like they've been heightened, right? Like you remember all the details of it. There could also be something happening where it's like sadness. If you're sad, memories become more difficult to remember, because the sadness almost acts like a blanket on the memory. Like it becomes fuzzy. It's not clear. There's something about that, like the influence of emotions on your memory of perhaps a specific event is how it's feeling to me. With this target energy, it feels like a very specific moment, or because it's almost like these two aspects, there's like a splitting energy happening here, where it's almost like this needs to be connected. These two things need to be connected. Okay, so it could be something like something that was perhaps traumatic for you recently is connected to an even like further back memory, is how it's coming through. It's like something where it's like a wound from your childhood was, let's say, the hand knit sweater. You got it back, and then you use that yarn to create a new sweater that ended up in the same type of heartbreak, is how it's coming through. So let's say the first sweater that you ever made got returned to you in yarn, not in a sweater form, but in yarn. So then you use that yarn to create another sweater that was given to another person or whatever in another relationship dynamic. And it resulted in the exact same heartbreak, is how it's coming through. The exact same pattern. And so that's how it's coming through here. Like, it's like they're connected. It's the same yarn. I hope that makes sense metaphorically. Okay, Virgo. Okay, I'm going to pull one more card just for like the middle to connect it. Land, cave, and earth. There's so much earth in your spread. Water is very important to balance, right? That's what's coming through with that. Anyways, I'm just going to read this one and then we'll end the reading. Ugh. Okay. While you hold great riches within the depths of your being, these gifts will wither and decay if you continue to hide them and keep yourself in isolation. You must connect with others, dear one. You must stand in the power of your vulnerability and trust that the treasures you have to share will be well received. Because they will. The more willing you are to share your gifts, the faster and greater those gifts will grow and multiply, increasing their vitality and breathing new life into you and into everyone you touch. Be courageous now, knowing that others' appreciation for the beauty you have to share will gift you a greater appreciation for all that you were once inspired to keep hidden. Your bravery will allow others the chance to reflect the inner beauty you carry and will lift you to greater levels of self-acceptance. Okay, Virgo. I feel like there's an aspect of yourself that is very, very protective of yourself, is how it's coming through. Part of the healing involves bringing those gifts out to other people, because it feels kind of like, if we're talking about the hand knit sweater example, perhaps in the past there were relationships where if you gave someone a hand knit sweater, it was returned to you damaged or unraveled or in pieces. And it feels like there's, I don't know, there's this energy here of being open to like almost like not forget. It's not about forgetting, but integrating that experience, accepting it, that there were relationships in the past that caused you harm, but not allowing that to affect how you move forward in the future. Because I feel like there's something here about sharing this aspect of yourself with others. I think you are already on that path. It's just like this protective aspect of you is needs to be integrated and accepted within yourself. Okay, Virgo, I'm going to end it there. If this reading resonated with you, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.